Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. It is June already, and we are entering the summer lull, let's call it that. And we're going to go through a little bit of that today. We're going to talk about the headline that I put up on Binance, which is $94,000. We're going to talk about that. It is, of course, a Monday. We always look at the charts on a Monday. We'll look at Bitcoin dominance. We're going to look at the DXY. We're going to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum on exchanges. That's something that we need to take a look at. There's a lot to get through. It's always a little bit busier on a Monday than it is any other day of the week because we try and cram everything into a Monday. So there's a lot of charts. We're going to try and break them down as easily as possible. Some of the charts don't change that much from one week to the next, but if you've missed a Monday, you're catching up with it. So there's a lot of stuff to get through. A few good mornings. Kishan is in chat. Bullish Bull is here. Charles is here. Hidden Agendas is here. KB is here. And Manjeet is here. I hope you're all doing incredibly well. Now, before we get into the show, there are unconfirmed reports that Powell is going to resign. Now, again, I think this is wishful thinking. I don't think Powell is going to resign. He is the last man standing. He is the group of resistance that's left against Trump. And you cannot have unchecked power in anybody. So if Powell does resign today, or this week, or whenever, I will be worried. Powell's contract isn't due until May next year, 2026. That's when Powell's contract is up. I don't want him to go before then. There's a lot of people in chat saying, oh, but interest rates are coming down. And, you know, if interest rates come down, then American interest rates can come down. Yes, except America has brought in tariffs, which has caused their own inflation to spike about 0.5% over the last month. So America cannot be seen in the same light as maybe Europe or the UK or anything like that. So they have to be very careful. And I think it just takes time. I think it's going to take time. Now, if Powell steps down and we see a tariff war continue into August and September and the rates start to cut, you're going to start to see inflation going up and unemployment going up. And believe you me, that is a terrible position to be in. You do not want that to happen. You want inflation to be coming down as unemployment is going up. I don't want to get into it in too great a deep detail, but suffice to say, we don't want Powell to resign. And I don't know why he would. Now, he did go and see Trump last week, and maybe Trump issued an ultimatum. Who knows? For them to turn around and say we didn't talk about interest rates when it's the most important thing the Fed are looking at the minute, I find it hard to believe. I think that's what the meeting was about. And I think Powell went to the White House to tell Trump what was going to happen with rate cuts. We were going to have 3 this year. We're now likely to have 2. So that's what we need to keep an eye on. Now, before we get into the meat and bones of the show, let's go and have a look at some prices. Bitcoin is doing us proud. 105,000. The longer we hang on, the better for me. Now, I think we came down to 103,000. James Wynn got liquidated for the 500th time this weekend again. He's just put another $7 or $10 million into Hyperliquid. I think he did that this morning. I mean, he is literally taking a kick in. But Bitcoin is holding up. Ethereum, just under $2,500, is holding up. And again, weeks ago, I said, hold 103,000 and I'll be happy. And we're holding. But I do think we're going to come down. And I think it might take a little bit of macro news to come out for that to happen. XRP is coming in, again, around about the same kind of price we need. Solana is the same. Solana's having a little bit of a cool off. Doge, by the way, if you can hear a siren in the background, that is the nuclear alarm testing going on. Don't ask. Anyway, so there isn't really a lot to talk about with regards to prices. We're kind of like same old, same old. There's a few ups Most notably, probably Monero is still continuing on its march. I put a tweet out today that we've had Vitalik Buterin and CZ both talk about privacy within the space of the last few weeks. I don't know if something is happening that now Ethereum and maybe BNB, maybe Binance are now starting to look at privacy. I don't know. But I don't know whether something is changing. Maybe there's some kind of warning about it in the American administration. I don't know. But for everybody to start talking about privacy and hiding your transactions, I find that very strange. I don't know why this is going on, unless the American administration want this kind of narrative, so maybe some of their own transactions can go unnoticed. I don't know. It's very strange. Not many losers. Radium, Quant is down a little bit. Render is down a touch. There isn't a lot to talk about in the markets, so I'm not going to waste too much time on them. Let's go on to some X-Files. Again, these are little bits from around X that don't really fit any narrative. There's just things I want to tell you about. Good morning, Danny. Remember, if you've got any questions, ask in chat. And the one thing I am super excited about is Wednesday, which I'll bring up next. Bitcoin close was $104,646. As far as I'm aware, that's the highest monthly close in Bitcoin's history. And yet, every one of you out there, if we did a fear and greed index in chat, I bet the fear and greed index would be less than 50. We've had our highest ever monthly close. And I think the issue is, which we'll look at Bitcoin dominance in a minute, I think the issue is, very simply, alts haven't moved. So if you are 70%, 80% alts and 20% Bitcoin, you're having a tough time. And I appreciate that. But we've had our largest monthly close. Now this, I forgot to mention this, and I forgot to put it into the show. Wednesday night, we're going to try something different, okay? And the reason we're going to try something different is, at the minute, crypto is a niche. And it's very much a niche where the same 3 or 4 performers perform, and YouTube sends them the traffic. And everybody else just gets left in the dust, picking up the crumbs. So we're going to try and do something different. And we're going to do a quiz night on Wednesday. And as many of you know, this is an interactive quiz. So you watch on YouTube. If you're on Binance, you can't take part on Binance. But if you watch on YouTube, you can type join, and then your name appears on the screen. Then we will give you multiple choice questions. We've got 30 questions on Wednesday. We think it's going to take about 45 minutes to go through the show. We're going to start the show, do 10 minutes of an intro. We're going to have about 45 minutes of the quiz. Then we're going to have 5 minutes at the end where we cheer the winner. 30 questions on 30 crypto logos. We're going to show you 30 logos, and you have to say what they are. And the winner takes it all. I don't know what the prize is going to be. Maybe 30 questions, 30 crypto logos is $30. Maybe we'll do that. And by the way, last Wednesday's prizes I haven't sent out. The last few days, I have been really tired. I've not made any videos. I'm really, really tired. So I am going to get to you. I haven't forgotten. I'm really sorry that I've not sent it out yet, but I will. So next Wednesday, 30 questions, 30 logos, 1 winner, and it's not sponsored. We don't have a sponsor for this because it's something that we are doing, and we are going to have a bit of fun with it. Now, of course, if this is a success, we will do more of them. And if it's a success, we'll try and find a sponsor for the show. But the one thing we might start to do, and again, this is something that we're going to look at for future, is we might start to do non-crypto quizzes. Because it's a bit of fun. We've built the tech. The tech is starting to work. Now we need to stress test it with more people. At the minute, I think the most we've ever had is about 14 people play this quiz. We need to test it with 50 or 60 people. So we need to find a way of getting 50 or 60 people into a quiz. So we might just do a normal pub quiz one night. But that's the plan for Wednesday. So there's no 45 minutes about Mew or WolfSwap or talking about Maple Finance. This is solely going to be a quiz, and we want it to be fun. And we've broken it up into 10 easy, 10 medium, and 10 hard logos. So I don't believe unless somebody cheats, I don't believe anybody's going to get 30 out of 30. Anyway, that is next Wednesday. If you've never done one of these, have a look. It is fun, and it gets quite tense as well, especially towards the end anyway. Right, let's move on very quickly. We're going to talk about this post by Khan. Khan is one of the big guys on the Kronos chain. I don't think I covered this on the show because I think this happened right at the end of last week. And if I did cover it, maybe I didn't cover it in detail. So Canary Capital, they are normally one of the first to file for the ETFs. And they have filed for a staked CRO ETF. Now, I did say on X yesterday or today, can't remember which, this isn't going to move the price of CRO. The announcement isn't going to move the price of CRO. And it might move it a cent or two, but go and have a look at what Hedera did. Hedera went from 5 or 6 cents to 30 cents during a very bullish period for alts. So it 5x'd, and now it's come down to a price which is about 2 or 3 times where it was before the ETF application. This CRO application has come out during a sideways movement of the market. We're waiting for interest rate cuts, waiting for inflation to come down, tariff wars. It's a very indecisive period in the market, and it's gone out now. The price moved from 9.5 cents to 11 cents. No massive gains. But I don't think it's going to come into effect, and nothing's going to happen with CRO until it's approved and we go on a countdown, maybe a 6-month countdown for the go live of this. And the reason I'm talking about this so much is a lot of people that watch on Catch Up as well. They've got CRO. Long term, this is very bullish for CRO. Long term, we will probably go to $1, but that is long term. We are not going to go anywhere near 30, 40, 50 cents this side of November. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're not going to 5x when nothing else in the market is moving. As long as Bitcoin dominance is going up, we are not moving. So I just thought I'd put that in there because I don't know if I mentioned it on Friday. Again, bullish news though. Now, I have one of my own tweets on here. I hope it's not a repeat of what I've just been talking about. It is. Well, I did put it back in the show. Well, we'll move on then. You get to see it twice. By the way, we do serve non-alcoholic beer and wine. So feel free to turn up if you are, we used to call them pioneers back in my day. Dan Crypto Trades. When the market cools off, it's important that tokens you hold aren't due for any massive token unlocks. Generally, these unlocks can be absorbed well during large uptrends, but if the market is already trending down and there is little appetite for risk, those coins will dump. Now, I used to cover the token unlocks an awful lot. I used to do it every week, every Monday, and we don't do it anymore because we've kind of got past that stage of covering token unlocks. We covered it before the market really pumped, if you remember. We were doing it this time last year and the year before. We don't really do it anymore because the market has grown. You know, we were doing it when we were below $1 trillion market cap for crypto. We're now at, what, $3 trillion? These unlocks do get absorbed a lot better than they used to. In a bear market, a token unlock just kills a price. Look at Arbitrum. Arbitrum got crushed. Sui has a $260 million unlock. That's the big one that's happening this week. I don't care about that unlock. It is going to be absorbed. Let's not worry about unlocks in this phase. But again, Dan Crypto Trades is absolutely right. In a downtrend or a sideways downtrend, it will affect the price because nobody's going to buy this new supply. So he's right, but I just don't think it has as much effect as when we're in a bear market. Now, Michael Saylor has come on and has started to talk about going on to the Joe Rogan show. People are saying he's not the right person to go on the Joe Rogan show, and it should be Charles Hoskinson. I think both should go on to the Joe Rogan show. I think Michael Saylor should go on. I think Charles should go on. Outside of that, I don't really know that many personalities that could go on the show, because Vitalik shouldn't go on the show. Anatoly, nobody knows who he is. So who are the big celebrities in crypto that people would know? And Michael Saylor is probably the biggest name in crypto. And if this was 3 years ago, you can bet your bottom dollar it would have been Sam Bankman-Fried, because he was the golden child of the Democrats. I think Saylor is the right person. Saylor does the old digital land, digital property spiel, and he's very good at being versed with Joe Rogan. But I also think Charles would be the most agnostic person to go on the show. Again, the problem is I don't think enough people know who Charles Hoskinson is. But I think Joe Rogan, yeah, Michael Saylor, that would be great. And also, don't forget, over the weekend, Saylor bought more Bitcoin, so expect an announcement today. I think he's got, what is it, $48 million, $48 billion on the side, something like that he's DCAing in. Incredible. Right, let's start off with the calendar then. So today, nothing. I haven't looked at this before, by the way. Tuesday, we've got job openings. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, jobless claims, trade deficit, productivity. Thursday could be a choppy day. And Friday, it looks like it's employment week, basically. Employment report, unemployment rate, hourly wages. Again, this is going to have a massive effect on Powell. We want weak numbers, by the way. We want unemployment to be going up, because it's a sign that the economy needs a break from the stress of the high interest rates. So if numbers come in bad, it's good for the economy, because it means that we can start to look at putting money into the economy. But this is tied into inflation. Again, if inflation is rampant, we're gonna struggle. Let's get rid of that one. We don't need that. We're not going to look at liquidation data today. I don't think it's that important. We've not had that many liquidations over the weekend, so it seems pretty pointless. Let's go on to this. Is the first one. This is the DXY. Don't think we've looked at this for a long time. I did do my Bob Ross drawing last Monday on the chart to see what has happened. This is the dollar index. Let's wait for it to load. Have I got anything open that's causing it to lag? Don't think so. I don't care about the leap. Okay, so the DXY, I have drawn my beautiful Bob Ross line there to basically indicate where I think we are going to go. I expected us to do this, by the way, and it didn't, because the tariff war continues. So what I expect us to do is probably keep coming down, bottom, and I said that we would look, this was about July, yeah. So in July, we should have the tariff deals in place with, I think it's China. July the 9th is China. The EU as well, that's going to be sorted out, and expect the dollar to come back up. And again, it's cyclical. All these people talking about the dollar is finished, the dollar is going down to, zero, whatever it might be. It's cyclical. We were back here. We had a period of time where the dollar was as low as 89. And that was only a few years ago. It's like an oscillator. It goes up and it comes down. The strength of the dollar goes up, strength of the dollar comes down. It just happens, and it's keeping an eye on this. Now, the rule of thumb is a weaker DXY, the stronger it is for Bitcoin, the better it is for Bitcoin. And, don't get me wrong, I don't think we're going to go to 110 tomorrow, which is the line on there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're just going to carry on regardless where we are. Right, this is Bitcoin dominance. This is the headache. If you want to know why we are not moving, if you want to know why your alts are not doing anything, it is this. And it's not stopping. Now, the longer this goes on, the more I'm going to convince myself that it's not going to stop. But of course, it has to stop because it's never going to go to 100% because you've got stable coins. It's never going to go to 100% because it's 1.7, what are we? I don't even know what we are. Are we 2 trillion out of 3 trillion? So Bitcoin dominance is basically the percentage of the entire market held in Bitcoin. So you'll see in the bottom right hand corner, I hopefully haven't blocked it out with my big goon head. There we go. If I do that, hang on, let's wait for it to catch up. You will see a number above my head that says 64.6. For every $100 in crypto, I've said this 1,000 times, $64.62 of that $100 is in Bitcoin. It is the alpha. It's not just the silverback gorilla. It's the only animal in the pack. Nothing comes close, okay? So it's like a gorilla being followed by headless chickens. That's what it is. And it's not stopping. This has been going on now for 2 whole years, probably further if we go all the way back down here. It's just not stopping. Now, again, it will at some point, but when will it stop? Are we going to get up towards this price here? Are we going to go up to this price here? Where do we slow down? Where does Bitcoin dominance stop? Or does it do this? Does it just get to a point and stop and never come down? Because there's more money flowing into Bitcoin, and especially through the ETFs, than anything else. So how can the altcoin market catch Bitcoin when Bitcoin is adding so much ETF value? I think it was 50,000 Bitcoin were bought last month by the ETFs alone. If they are buying 50,000 Bitcoin a month, the price is going to appreciate. If Saylor is buying Bitcoin every month, the price is going to appreciate. So where does the money go into Solana? Where does the money go into ADA or XRP? I tell you where I think the money's going to come from. It's going to come from those ETFs. The XRP ETF, the Cardano ETF, the Ethereum ETF is already doing really well. The Solana ETF. Don't compare pounds, shillings and pence of the Ethereum ETF with the Bitcoin ETF because it's an unfair comparison. Look at the percentages. Based on market cap, the Ethereum ETF is doing really well. And when the staking is approved for those ETFs, you are going to see $3,300 on Ethereum. That's it. I don't care what anybody says. These charts break because of the inflows of external capital, and they break. And this isn't going to stop. Maybe we plateau at 65. Maybe we plateau at 70. Maybe we grind higher and higher for the next 10 years. Maybe there is no altcoin season. Maybe everything is wrong. The more this goes on, the less chance I think we are going to get an altcoin season. I just don't see it. Right then, this is the total market cap of crypto. 3.22 trillion. 3.2 trillion, which is the line on here, has some correlation to something. There is my pink line of where I think we're going to go, which is up to about 3.64. That's still 10% away, a 10% move for the market. That puts Bitcoin at 115,000, 114,000. I think we're going to go there. I don't know when we're going to go there, but I think we're going to go there. And I think we're at good prices. It's just because your alts are getting wrecked that's the problem. You know, and when I mean your alts are getting wrecked, I don't mean your Solanas and your XRPs. I mean your top 50 coins, your top 100 coins. They're nowhere near all-time highs. I did a tweet yesterday. Other than Bitcoin, there's only been 4 coins that have broken all-time highs in this cycle so far, I think since January. And that's Sui, which is a relative newcomer, XRP, because of course the court case was closed and it's had a massive spike up, has a massive wick up. Bitcoin, Solana, Sui, Bitcoin, Solana, Sui, XRP, and then one other, BNB. They're the only coins that have hit all-time highs. Everything else has got nowhere near. Cardano's got close, but hasn't, or closer. And if that's the case, and we are now in June, and we're not seeing these alts go up, are we going to see these alts go up? I don't know. Now then, this blue line here is the exchange reserves. And I didn't bring this up for a few weeks because, again, it doesn't change that often. But if we go back to, let me find you a good time to look at. So if we go to July last year, we were sitting at 3.1 million on exchanges. Today, we are sitting on 2.5 million on exchanges. So in a year, 600,000 has left exchanges. 50,000 a month has gone. And you will notice that this kind of line, it's been going along here quite nicely, all the way from December 21, previous all-time high. We got basically to the election last year, the election result last year. And I said this a few weeks ago as well, so apologies for repeating myself. And since the election last year, 500,000 Bitcoin have disappeared off exchanges, and it's now going into a downward spiral. And at some point, we're going to break 2 million. At some point, we are likely to break 1.5 million. And then at some point, we're going to need to find parity, where Bitcoin starts to flow back to exchanges. And that can only happen when the price far exceeds where we are now. I don't know when we're going to see the fracture of the Bitcoin price, but I think my target of 114,000 or 111,000, sorry, for Bitcoin, which has been touched, I don't think that's going to be the all-time high. I think we're going to go higher. But where are we going to go? And the other one to look at on here, if I click this one, which is Ethereum, and this is the other one I wanted to show you. This is the Ethereum exchange reserves. And again, we're not quite following the same pattern, but we are down below 20 million on Ethereum. And this hasn't been as dramatic. But this is 30. So it's lost some, but it doesn't seem to be following the same trajectory as Bitcoin, even though people are calling it for all-time lows. I think all-time lows on exchanges were August last year. So it's difficult for people to say. I think Bitcoin at the minute is going to be the one to watch. It's going to follow everything. And I think you just need to keep an eye on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will lead the way. And I don't see Bitcoin breaking down. And it's very confusing right now. Bitcoin, spot metrics are stable, but futures signal potential pullback. And this is what I said at the end of last week. I brought up the Bitcoin chart, and I think I said the worst case scenario is 94,000, which is the bull market support band. But there's a lot to do before we get there. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to go from 105 to 94. But if I did say that, that would be a 8%, 9% correction. Not massive. I don't think we're going to go that low, but we didn't expect the tariffs to hollow out the market. We didn't expect Trump to come in and do half the things he's done. We've not had the strategic reserve announcement. Lots of things are still up in the air. So maybe we don't go below 100,000. Maybe we bounce off 100,000 and come back up. Maybe we hold 103,000. Maybe we fall to 98,000 and the buy pressure is just so strong it drags us back up. There's lots of things that can happen, but I think worst case scenario is 94,000. It's the bull market support band. If we come to 94,000, everybody is going to tell you that we've double topped and it's the end of the bull run. Everybody is going to tell you that, because that is the narrative that will be fed. And you'll see all of your favorite influencers telling you that they were right about all-time highs in May, and that's the end of the cycle, and we've topped out, and away we go. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think we've finished with Bitcoin at all. But Going from 112 to 94 would create a pattern on the chart that could look like a double top. And I just don't think that's going to happen. So be wary that everybody tells you it's over if we go to 94 or 95 or 96, whatever the number might be. But in a bear scenario, I think we're going to go back below 100,000 again. I don't see what's going to be announced that's going to pump the market other than a macro event. Powell resigning, interest rates being surprisingly cut, even though I don't think that's going to happen. Trade war with Europe stopped. Trade war with China agreed, maybe. We've got 5 weeks to get some of these things sorted out, and any one of them could be the tinder that starts the fire beneath Bitcoin again to send it higher. But at this moment in time, we're in a period where Bitcoin is consolidating and we have macro events going on that can determine where we're going to go. And I listen to people who seem convinced that we're going to go here or convinced that we're going to go here. But I'm not convinced that any one of those things is going to be the thing that sends us to 120,000 or something that's going to send us to 85,000. Nothing really at the minute is sitting there telling me that we're going to move massively in either direction until something happens. And that sounds like such a get out. I know it sounds like a get out, but I think we come down based on the chart. Maybe we sit here, maybe the RSI cools off and we stay at 103, 105,000 for another week like we did last week. And I think we just have to wait and see. But I just want to see something happen. We've not seen anything happen, and I want to see Trump come out and say something. I want to see Powell come out and say something. Maybe the jobs report comes out, maybe it's really weak, like I said at the beginning, and then maybe that encourages the market into favouring a rate cut sooner rather than later, and then that might be the market thing that moves up. But anyway, so futures are painting a different picture on where they think Bitcoin is going to go. The funding rates are coming down. Strength and caution is probably a good term to use. It's a mixed landscape. Spot metrics indicate strength and accumulation, while futures show rising speculative exposure, often a signal of vulnerability. The funding rate dip underscores rising fear, which has caused a bottoming rather than a top exhaustion. I'm not sure about that. If future volatility increases while spot demand holds, Bitcoin could be setting up for a brief shakeout followed by continuation. And again, saying we're going to 94,000 is not saying that we're going to go to 94,000 and then we just keep going down. We need the market doesn't just go up or down in a straight line. We've had this conversation before. When we came to 76,000, when we came to 49,000, I said we go up as fast as we come down. And at those moments, you all thought the end was near for Bitcoin, and it never happened because you don't go down forever. You don't go up forever either. And I think we just are at a point where we've already put in a new all-time high. So why can't we come down to prices that you may not have thought you could get Bitcoin at? Because I'm sure you've read everywhere people saying you'll never be able to buy Bitcoin below $100,000 again. I'm sure you've read somewhere like that kind of statement. And I think you will. I think you will. If we were at 170 or 180,000, it's a different story. Then I'd be talking about coming down to maybe 140, 150. But we're not. We're just above 100,000. So to suggest we're never going to go below 100,000 again is utter nonsense. Some people have been sprouting utter crap on X all weekend. And I have cracked on a few occasions this weekend and replied to some people. And I'd like to apologise to them, but they won't be listening, so it doesn't matter. SEC questions the legality of new staking-based crypto ETFs. Remember, they are not questioning staking. They are questioning the Rex and Ospreys ETFs. They are not questioning the concept of staking. They are questioning this application. So it's got red flags over 2 proposed ETFs tied to staking rewards, both of which have just cleared initial registration steps. The challenge came on Friday evening when the SEC told ETF Opportunities Trust the entity responsible for registering funds managed by Rex and Osprey, that the new Ethereum and Solana staking ETFs may not qualify as illegal investment companies under law, calls into question their ability to list on public markets. Again, what you need to do is realize that BlackRock get what they want. And BlackRock want Ethereum staking yesterday. So BlackRock are going to get Ethereum staking. It's going to happen. You're going to see these news, again, you're going to see pieces of news like this and think it's about staking, and it's not. They already came out and clarified that staking rewards did not fall under securities. But they made that last week or the week before. So they've clarified that staking isn't a security. Staking rewards are not a security or a security transaction, whatever you want to call it. This is about these individual ETFs. And you're going to see this from time to time. Certain ETFs are going to apply in the wrong way. They're going to use the wrong language. They're not going to have the correct disclosures. These are very complex documents. And sometimes people just try and get away with murder, basically. And it's not going to be allowed. So I think, don't worry if you've got Ethereum. Don't worry if you've got Solana. That's going to come. And again, I said this before, said this on Friday. The Solana ETF is coming, and it's going to be a staking ETF. And you are going to make good returns on Solana because the demand for that token is going to be huge. It's the third one of 4 that are going to be huge. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP. They're the 4 big ones. And you're going to see 250 for Solana before you can say Anatoly's new phone. And it's going to happen. It is going to happen. Right then. Talking of Ethereum. Ethereum price dips below $2,500 on whale exit fears, then bounces back above key level. A sudden spike in volume. We don't really care about the spike in volume. I think Ethereum's still at $2,500 today. It seems to have found a price it's quite happy to be at. We're 20% away from $3,000. To put that into context, we were at what, $1,700, $1,800 a few weeks ago? So we did a $700 move. And that was what, a 40% move? 30, 40% move, whatever it was. We're now at $2,500. Moving to $3,000 is obviously requires more capital, but it's not out of the realms of possibility. That's why I think the site should be set higher with the staking ETFs, because this is going to drive more new capital to Ethereum. $2,500 to $3,000 is a 20% move. I can see it happening. Not today, but I can see it happening very soon. It's in consolidation, about $2,500. On-chain data revealed sizable inflows to centralized exchanges, to the likes of Binance. Again, I'm not overly concerned by a few $100s. Not a few hundred, a few tens of dollars move on Ethereum. We'll look at the chart maybe tomorrow and go through it in depth. But I just think Ethereum is in a really good place right now. And had you offered me $2,500 in June for Ethereum from where we were, I'd have bit your hand off. The same way that if you offered me $250 for Solana by July, I'd bite your hand off. They're just significant prices. 3,000, 4,000, 3,500. They're all significant prices for Ethereum because it's been there and it's done that. The same with Solana, $200, $250. They're significant prices that it's been at, and it will be attracted to those prices. The same way with XRP, we talk about $250, we talk about $220. ADA is the same, $60 and $80. We talk about these prices that it's attracted to, and I don't think these are bad prices to run into a next leg up for some of these altcoins. You know, if the XRP and Solana ETFs are approved and there's a go live date of the 1st of August, we're going to see $200 for Solana. We're going to see $3 for XRP, or maybe $275, $280 for XRP. It's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. You then need to decide what you're going to do with that information. I am not saying that I think they're going to go live. They're going to go live. The question is not if, but when. The same with the CRO ETF. The CRO ETF is not when, but if. Hedera, same thing again. All of these ETFs are going to happen. The question is, how much is going to flow into those ETFs? And how is that going to affect the price? Because I don't think having 200 ETFs for every Tom, Dick and Harry currency out there is going to do anything in the short term. In the very, very, very long term, then maybe the successful projects will be a lot higher than they are now, but not every one of them. And talking of that, 1,000 crypto projects have disappeared. How it could spark the next alt season. 10% of crypto projects have disappeared in months because they've run out of money. And we talk about this on here all the time. And what's nice is not to sit here and tell you, I told you so. I'm not going to do that. What is nice is that the reasons for me liking projects is now starting to become the glaring realization to everybody else. And that is, you have to pick projects that make money. If a project doesn't make any money, what's the point of it? What is the point of investing your money in magic beans to grow a tree that just goes up into the sky? Doesn't do anything. There's no magic giant at the top of that tree with a pot of gold. DEXs make money. Chainlinks and oracles make money. Centralized exchanges like Binance make bags of cash. Things I can't mention, other exchanges make bags of cash. There is 50, 200, 300 companies out there making a lot of money. And you need to be aware, say to yourself, what's going to be here in 5 years' time? And if your investment in a company, if you don't think it's going to be here in 5 years' time, then clearly it's a short-term hold. If it's a short-term hold, you need to sell it, because you don't want to be left next summer when we're going to have a recession. You don't want to be here next summer holding your bags of Casper when Casper went up to X dollars and now it's X minus $50 at 50%. You want to get out. Bitcoin is the only thing you should probably really think about holding for the long term. So these projects disappear, and when they disappear, look at the FTT token. The damn coin's still hanging around. The exchange has been dead for 2.5 years, and the coin still pumps. People still hold FTT token or trade it. On what reasoning? What planet does that make? If an alien came down tomorrow and looked at crypto and said, what's that token there? Oh, FTT token. What is it? It's an exchange token of FTX. Didn't they go bust? Yeah, 2.5 years ago. Why is it still worth anything? Don't know. Cell token was hanging around for an eternity. I think that might have finally died. But the point of the matter is, don't buy things that don't make money. Or if you get in really, really, really early on a project and they have such a simple business model that they make money out of it, do that. Why do we like the projects that we like? Why do we like WolfSwap? Because it makes money. Why do we like Maple Finance? They made $1 million last month, almost $1 million last month in fees. $1 million for a team probably that would fit in this room with me. Probably threefold would fit in this room with me. They make a lot of money. They're partnering with bigger and bigger companies. We want to partner with some stable coins because they make money. Everything that makes money will survive the next bear market, and everything that doesn't will die. FTX is going to hand out $5 billion back into circulation. It's a big step. What are people going to do with $5 billion? I would imagine some of it will go into Bitcoin, certainly. However, 10.5% of active cryptocurrencies disappeared in 2 months. That's 1,000 projects delisted. or abandoned in 2 months. Recent data showed a sharp drop in the number of listed projects since March, even as Bitcoin price continued the course. Failed experiments, rug pulls, illiquid token collapses, fallout from the Q1 bear market. Many teams have shut down their projects, delisted them, or migrated to new ecosystems. Again, expansion and contraction, same thing, different market, different time. You are going to have 100,000 projects today. Next year, 30,000 projects. 4 years' time, 150,000 projects. 8 years' time, 60,000 projects. The bad ones close, the good ones stay. Look at any high street, and if you see shops are shut and it's not a recession, those shops were not economically viable, and they will be replaced by another shop which is either economically viable and makes a profit or closes down again. There are obviously many other factors involved with that, but the point of the matter is, leaner, stronger projects will survive, and the bloated ones that have more staff than are needed are going to die. And if some of your tokens you're invested in don't have an understandable business model, you need to get out. That is what I would say, and it's not financial advice. If I went to a sandwich shop and they were selling gourmet sandwiches for 50p or a euro, and it was a double-decker, triple salami, pastrami, pickle sandwich, and it was 50p, I'd be buying that sandwich thinking, this isn't going to be here in 6 months' time, because this sandwich is going to cost about £5 to make, and they're selling it for 50p. And then when the shop closes, and I'm surprised by that, then I'm a fool. If you buy a token of a project and that project has failed, and you're buying that token of that project that's failed, and that just goes to pretty much to zero over 6 months, then it's your responsibility to understand that you didn't do any research into that project, which is why we do try and stress that you need to look at top tier projects that have some level of revenue associated with them. Now, Mantra at 32 cents is at a turning point. Now, this was what, $8, $6, $7? Everybody turned on JP Mullen, everybody turned on the team, everybody blamed them. The structure of the business is sound. The business model hasn't changed. What happened was the price of the token, because of some kind of money-making, liquidity crash, whatever you want to call it, wrecked the price of the token. Now, I've said this before about Star Atlas. Star Atlas, great project, terrible tokenomics. Would I advise you to play Star Atlas or get involved with Star Atlas? Yes. Would I advise you to buy the token? Never. Any gaming token would never advise you. It's an emissions-based business. Token will go to zero over time unless there's some kind of seasonal buyback where you've got to buy it with Atlas tokens or whatever tokens. Look at Nyan Heroes. Nyan Heroes was a great project. Didn't get adoption, crashed, disappeared. Great project. That IP needs to go somewhere else, to somebody else, to then manage it. Mantra, as a project, I heard every Tom, Dick and Harry jump on their back. They're crap. It was a Ponzi scheme. JP Mullen's got billions in his back pocket, blah, 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 blah. None of that appears to be true. They're even going to burn their treasury to show that they were not involved with this. He did a train wreck interview with CoffeeZilla. It was a train wreck, but it doesn't detract from the business. Now, this could be a blessing in disguise for Mantra. It takes all the heat off them. It takes all the pressure off them. They can just get on with building their business, and maybe the token was overvalued. Maybe it shouldn't have been $6, $7, $8. We were talking about that at the time. We were talking about buying that token. I can't remember what we said in our video that we made. I think we said buying it at 60 to 80 cents would be a good price to get that token. And this was 2 years ago, year and a half ago. It's now down at 35, 40 cents. But what was interesting was the price of the token came down to where we said would be a good entry point. And it's come down lower because people are bailing out of it. But it's a profit-making business. They make money. I wouldn't. I'm not saying you go and buy Mantra. Listen, don't go and buy a coin that's gone down 95%. But as a business, from the outside looking in, looking at the deals they are doing, looking at who they are dealing with, Mantra is not a bad project at all. So from my point of view, the price changing doesn't change my opinion of a token. And again, I say this to you all the time. People jumped on the back of Charles Hoskinson. I can't believe he scammed $600 million out of people. What an absolute fraud. Based on what evidence? Based on the evidence of somebody who put it out on Twitter that then got spread through all the media. And I said, I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I say the same thing about Mantra. It's not believable. The token crash was a liquidity event, something to do with Binance and the exchange and the volumes, whatever it was, a moneymaker. I don't care what it was, but it was something to do which was external to the structure of the business. And again, I put it in the same bag as I put Charles Hoskinson. They went after Charles Hoskinson. And if you can flip your opinion on a token or an individual at the drop of a hat based on hearsay or based on evidence that hasn't really been presented in a audited way, then you need to think about how you invest in projects. There are people out there who could end up being massive villains for Bitcoin. Michael Saylor could be a massive villain. Charles could end up being a massive villain. Brad Garlinghouse certainly could be a massive villain. The same with the guy from the exchange I can't mention, the guy with the bald head, I can't say his name, Brian Armstrong. Heroes become villains over time. But you have to see through the mist. Do you still believe in that project? Has the project fundamentally changed? No, it hasn't fundamentally changed. And yes, I believe that person. And that applies to Charles and Cardano and JP Mullen and Mantra. And I will back them until the point where their business is no longer viable, because it is a viable business at this moment in time. Now then, Silk Road founder got 1.8 million in a Bitcoin auction. He sold off his little ID card from when he was in prison, and he sold it for it wasn't 5.5. That might have been sold for 5.5 Bitcoin, and then somebody else sold something else. 11 Bitcoin it got sold for. Now, I'm not going to cast aspersions on anybody, but he received a 300 Bitcoin donation over the weekend, which is about $30 million. And he received it from a very unusual direction, a very unusual place that came through a mixer that may or may not have hidden the identity of where it came from. Now, again, I am just spitballing here. I am not saying one thing or another. But if I ran a company that had lots of Bitcoin in it, and I hid my Bitcoin somewhere, and I did what I did, and I served what I served, and then I came out, and 5 or 6 months later, I get a 300 Bitcoin donation to my account, I wouldn't find that suspicious in the slightest, would I? Why would I think that's suspicious? Why should you think it's suspicious? It came through a mixer, it's slightly been skewed, so we don't know who sent it, and it appears in his account. And before all of this stuff happened, all of the shenanigans happened, his business operated on Bitcoin. Again, it's just a theory, can't be proven. So he's now probably $32 million better off than he was this time last year. And again, I will just say one thing to you. Heroes become villains, villains become heroes. And it's an interchangeable link of things. This might be the article about the donation that I think I threw in the end, just to basically show it's out there. And again, you can call me a cynical old man. There we go. Look at that. Somebody randomly sent him $30 million. How on earth would you expect me to not believe that is genuine? Clearly it's genuine. But anyway, enough of that. Very quickly then, because I've tried to get through the show in a reasonable amount of time today. We've got 5 minutes before we are done. what do I have to tell you about the coming week? I'm going to be streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, Friday this week as well. I'm not going to stream on Thursday. I might not stream on Wednesday. I don't know. But definitely today and tomorrow and Friday. Probably Wednesday as well. The Oracle is working on a deal to stream his trading stuff on a platform. Paid streams. Not paid streams to talk about certain individual tokens, by the way. Just paid to talk about crypto trading. So it's a good move. It's a good move, and we're going to have a look at that. Absolutely. Wednesday night we are going to be doing the quiz. Again, the only hint I will give you is that you need to brush up on your logos. That's the only hint I'm going to give you. Okay. I don't want to give too many. I don't want to give the game away, but let's just say some of these logos are going to be pretty hard. Some of them are going to be super easy. And I don't think we're going to see anybody get 30 out of 30. And if we do, they're cheating and they've got CoinMarket open and they've got really fast fingers, like maybe KB or Danny or Mary or something like that. But what I would do as a bit of homework is I would study the top 300 tokens, maybe, to give you a chance. And I'm telling you now, because there's not that many people in chat, 50, 55 people in chat. So the likes of Hidden and Kishan and Manjeet and KB and Danny, and obviously Danny will tell Mary, you can go and get some idea on these tokens, these IDs. 30 questions, 30 logos, one winner. That might not be true. It just sounded good when I typed it. Maybe we'll have 3 winners, who knows. But we're going to do that on Wednesday night, and we're super looking forward to it. And as I said at the start of the stream, we have to try and find a way to grow the channel. And if any of you got any ideas out there, let me know. Because I don't think we can do an awful lot more than we do. Because there's 2 of us, and we pump out 4, 5, 6 videos a week. We do 5 or 6 live streams a week. We do giveaways that pretty much comes from our pockets. And we are basically, what it feels like, I said this to the Oracle the other night, it feels like we're in a boxing ring and we've just got to hang on until the other boxer gets tired for us to win this race. And that's when the alt season and we get to the end of this cycle. Every crypto streamer made it in the bull market of 2021. Every one of them. Altcoin Daily, CryptoZaros, Ben. The only probably exception to that, I'd say, would be Crypto Banter. They got their 20, 30, 50, 100,000 followers in the 2021 bull run. We knew this was going to happen, and we set out 2 years ago to be in a position where we would be there for the bull run in 2025. This has been a 2-year plan. But we want to do something a bit different, and we want to do these quizzes because they're fun as hell to do. And I hope a lot of the people watching enjoy doing these quizzes because they are real fun. I got really carried away on the Saturday stream because I was really getting into it. Who's going to win? Then Kabir got one of the questions wrong. He ended up getting pipped to the post by Danny. Then Hidden Agendas fell away, I think. Got a question wrong on that day as well. And it's just fun, and it's a bit of fun. And that's what we want to try and do, is have a little bit of fun where we don't sit here talking to you about charts every day, talking to you about RSI or liquidity gaps, or talking to you about stuff. We want to try and make crypto a bit of fun. So as well as doing the stuff we do, we want to try and make it fun for you guys as well. So Wednesday, as it says on there is no sponsor for Wednesday, but we might get somebody to donate, and then we will put their logo on the stream. Of course we will. Anyway, I have waffled to 12 o'clock, which is not what I intended to do. If you are new here and you don't know who we are Crypto Warehouse. And very quickly, before we go, I'm just going to very quickly show you our YouTube channel. We have been ticking up, by the way. We were going from 0 or 1 subscribers a day to 2 or 3 subscribers a day. So we have made a big jump. We're over 6,500. This is really big. So if you don't follow us on YouTube, this is our account. You can see that we're live there. These are some of the shows that we have done. We've got an OG channel. By the way, if you're not an OG and you want to support the channel, it costs a couple of dollars a month. I don't know if it's $2 or $3 a month to support us. We get about 2/3 of that, 70% of that from YouTube. YouTube take the rest. So if you want to support us for very little, you can become an OG member, and I make OG videos, taking profits, time horizons, be prepared, heads up on trades, town hall, blah, blah, blah. But these are the videos that we make. Compute AI, really great project. Not sponsored, by the way. The Chronos Pulse I've not done this week. Bitcoin, summer crash. So if you want to check us out on YouTube, we are there. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody in chat. I am going to go for the day and maybe make a video, or maybe go out and buy another fan because it's boiling. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you to Danny, KB, Manjeet, and Kishan, and everybody else in chat, Hidden Genders, Charles. Have a great evening. Goodbye.